I was not listening.
Get some pictures.
So you're already halfway there. We're good?
Yeah, he's on like the pictures and stuff.
Then I looked up and I was like, why am I in this Zoom thing?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that an imposter?
We have a couple of Zoom people in there.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. This 561, the phone.
We can call them, find out.
Yeah, we'll call them. All right, cool.
Maybe it's this.
Olivia, let me know if it, oh, do we not have the deck? Oh, okay. Okay. Could we still put it up? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to our first Fireside Chat kickoff. Thank you for coming. I don't want to cover our guests. Today, we have the one and only Ricky Aiken, founder and executive director of Inner City Innovators, hope dealer, just a true activist in the community, and a youth leader, youth empowerer, all of the above. And today, leading this fireside, we have Mr. Aarif Khan, founder of Champion, Watson Scholar, and Chris Taylor, who is Ricky's current mentee, also Watson Scholar. So thank you, everyone, for being here, for supporting this new series. And yeah, we hope that you gather some valuable insights. It's going to be a great conversation. Welcome to those who are not from the Watson community. Welcome to the Watson community. So without further taking up too much time, because we are running a little bit behind, I'm going to pass the mic to our guest. Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Aarif Khan. I am the co-founder of Champion as well as a Watson Scholar. And I want to give a quick shout out to Ricky for being here. This is going to be a great conversation. I hope you guys can get some insights from this. And yeah, Champion and Inner City Innovators have done a lot of work so far in our community over the holidays, and we look forward to continuing that throughout the years. Definitely.
And I am Chris, and I am very excited to be here, and I want to also thank all of you for coming out to support. It's really, it means a lot to me, and Ricky is my mentor, and every single conversation we've had, I've gained so much knowledge from him, and I cannot wait to have this conversation.
So I just wanted to remind all of you to have your questions ready and keep them for the end, because I know you will have some after this. First question though, we do want to ask you is if you could share a little bit about like your story, what you do at Inner City Innovators, and let's hear a little bit about it.
Absolutely. Inner City Innovators is a youth delinquency and gun violence prevention organization. And we target young people that are most likely to perpetrate or be victimized by gun violence. And I started the organization because I was a high-risk individual to perpetrate or be victimized by gun violence. If y'all don't remember from my master course, I was born to a crack-addicted mother. Father wasn't in the picture. Both of my older brothers were the neighborhood drug dealers because they wanted to provide for me and my younger brother. And so school wasn't a place where I really felt like I fit in or had a real future. So I just know how easy it is for young men or young people to feel like the street life is the way and the only meaningful way to make a future or make a living for yourself. So thanks to some mentors that really came into my life and showed me a world outside of the one that I had known, I was able to change my life for the better. And so fast forward to 2015, it was a very deadly year in the community I grew up in. And I remember every day watching the news and kind of lamenting the fact that every day it seemed like someone I knew was being killed or suspected of killing someone. And that's what kind of put my heart into work. And in that very same year, I lost a young man that was a mentee to me. And that's what kind of solidified my passion to do the work that I'm doing and my life experiences and all of that. So that's why I do it. And that's a short background of my story.
Thank you. Thank you for
So you identify yourself as a hope dealer. And when you say that, what does that mean to you? And what message are you sending to other youth?
That's a good question. Very good question. If I could use any one word, like, to describe my upbringing, that word would be hopeless. Like, I remember days and nights where I would just look in the mirror and cry, and kind of lament what I felt like was my lot in life at that point. And I'm talking elementary school age. I remember seeing situations, you know, where my mom, when I was reunited with her, just being so poor and so impoverished, and just feeling like you were like just feeling like you didn't matter. Like, I know what hopelessness feels like, and it's not a feeling I think anyone should have to live with or go through. So when I say hope dealer, like, I want to spark something in people that lets them know that it can be okay, and that the future can be brighter than the darkness you had to experience in your past. And I want to show them ways that they can take it by the reins, and create that hope not only within themselves but in their families and in their communities. Like, I saw my mom go from a drug addict to a wonderful mother that does all she can for her children. I saw my older brothers go from drug dealers to wonderful fathers and community leaders. You know, I saw hope in my own life. So when I say hope, and I'm a hope dealer, I want to deal people a very true and real possibility that they can take the darkness and turn it into light with some work.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that's like something a lot of us here can like relate to, because I feel like, a lot, like, we have went through a lot, within our life, dealing with certain circumstances, and I feel like why we want to do what we do is because we don't want other people to go through the same thing we did. And I feel like, that's where like that hope comes from. Like, I mean, I feel like I didn't have hope, but that doesn't mean I can't spread my newfound hope to you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's huge.
Exactly. And I believe if everyone thought like this, we don't have to dream. We wouldn't have to dream about a better world. We could be a part of creating that.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So considering that now, like, if you were to look back at yourself as a kid, right, and if there was an organization out there that's doing what you are right now, what do you think that effect could have on you as a kid living in the environment that you were in?
Yeah, I think it would have. I think about how far I've made it. Like, without it, I think having an organization like mine in my life, I couldn't imagine the level of confidence I would have achieved at an earlier date. The support we try to create amongst the young people in our program, like that brotherhood and that sense of, yeah, we were dealt a bad hand, but we all know we were dealt that bad hand, so let's work together to try to get a better hand, and let's support each other in taking all this negativity and turning it into something positive. So I believe that, but I also know that, like, nothing bad that happens in our past or our life is wasted. You know, I think it creates strength, it creates resilience. So, and without those negative things, I don't think I would have been able to create the organization that I have now.
That's incredible, because I've definitely had to learn that lesson myself. I had to really understand the value of certain struggles, because they're meant to form you to who you are.
Right.
And it's really an amazing thing once you start to kind of change your mindset and to really look at things through a different lens.
Right.
So as my mentor, I have gotten a lot of value from our previous conversations. And so my question to you is, have you had a mentor at a younger age? And if so, who was he, and how impactful were they in making sure that you put certain pieces in your organization in the right way?
Right. Absolutely. since I was probably around 16 years old, I've always had a mentor in one way or another. I had a few mentors at that time. Brother Carl, Todd Shoemaker, Chris Tress, Bill Hobbs, Stephen Hamilton, Michael Newsom, even today, Will Corrente. Like, I could go on and on about all the mentors I have. And when you think about mentors, right, there's a few ways you could think about it, right? You could think about it as someone teaching you something that you want to know, or you could think about it as having access to experience and brain power that you don't have at that time, right? It's like opening up a whole new world. And I want to learn and I want to grow. And the way to learn and grow is to find someone who's excelling in an area that you might be struggling in and getting them to show you the game. So that's been the journey of my life, is always having those people in my life, not only for like business or advice, but I didn't have a strong family environment when I was growing up. I didn't have an uncle or a dad that I could call when I needed something. It was oftentimes those mentors became like a family that I never had. So knowing I understood the value very early of mentors, and it's still a huge blessing in my life. Like, I could pick up the phone and call people that I know care for me even now. So I would encourage you all to really like look at mentors or people as the blessings and the benefits that they are. You know, if you want to know something about anything, find a person in your phone or have someone else introduce you to someone that can help teach you about that thing. Because I've never met a mentor that I've gone through that wasn't excited that a younger person came to them and wanted to know something that they're excelling in. So it's a blessing on both ends.
I want to like echo, what you said, because I feel like a lot of times, even like with me, sometimes I'm a little scared to like, like reach out or hit up somebody, like what if they say no?
Right.
But I mean, what I've found is that anytime I do ask, is like, I mean, it's always yes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I feel like, like that's like one thing we have to like try our best to get over, and that's like that fear of, like what if they say no?
Right.
But like I guess you'll never know if you don't ask them, right?
Exactly.
So seeing, in this room, what would you say to young people who have like a desire to help others, but they don't feel like they have like the resources or the money to do so?
I would say just jump out and try whatever it is you're thinking of, right? Like when I first got started in the work that I'm doing, right, I had not a clue how to do it. Like when my young friend Johnny Davis was killed, his family came to me and asked me to organize a candlelight vigil in memory of him, and then that candlelight vigil turned into a peace march. I had no clue how to do any of it. I simply sat down, got on my computer, and Googled what is a peace march, how do you do it, and I did it to the best of my ability. And it wasn't perfect. There were so many things that could have went better, but no one was thinking about all the things that went wrong or could have went better. They were looking at the intention of my heart and checked in at that level. So I think so often when we're planning or we're thinking about something, we think it has to be perfect, and it doesn't. If you're coming at something with the right heart disposition and your heart's in it and you do try to prepare to the best of your ability, you only get better at it. And so what I would say to y'all is don't let anything stop you. Like if you have an idea, maybe start small or start with something like it, but try it, because what happens is you start getting experience and start becoming less afraid, right? I do a lot of public speaking, and I enjoy it because I've done a lot of public speaking. You know, I just keep doing it. I just jump up. I don't try to overthink it. I just do it, And then just doing it, I realized there's not that much to be afraid of. You know, like no one's gonna be thinking about this tomorrow, or nobody's thinking about the mistakes I made. They'll be hopefully thinking about the message I tried to send. So I would encourage you to take that chance and try it. You know, network with your peers and come together and try to create something, because we're oftentimes harsher on ourselves and our process than anyone else who would benefit from it, whatever it be.
Thank you for that. I mean, I feel like that's also a lesson that I've had to learn like recently too. Because I mean, if you look at like I remember I was telling Jordan this like recently, and then I mean I was almost in tears when I was like explaining. It's like it's crazy. Like us three are like we're still broke college kids, right?
Right.
But we went ahead over the holidays, did this toy drive, and I mean we were able to like grant almost 200 kids a Christmas who weren't gonna have one. And it's like at first I'm like, okay, I bet like we'll get like 10 toys, 15 if we're lucky. But like we really underestimated ourselves, and it's like I always thought like like I need all of this money, I need all of these like resources and like connections in order to really make like the change that I want to. But it's like once I put myself out there and we did it over the holidays, it's like, I did, like, we did that, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's wild, like, that's
Absolutely.
crazy.
And you guys gave more toys than any other single group or partner that we partnered with.
Wow.
But you're right, like, you took a chance. Like, you didn't know what was going to come in, how it was going to come in. You made the commitment, and you stayed true to that. And you were able to bless so many kids, man. I can't tell you, like, when we showed up to this housing projects in Riviera Beach, like, kids just had nothing, man. And to be able to go and to put that smile on their face and let them know that there are people who care. But if you hadn't took that chance, that wouldn't have happened, you know? So now you're gaining the capacity to do it at a much better scale next time you do it. But if you don't step off the porch, if you don't try it, you don't gain experience, and you draw it back to the kids, they don't have that sense of joy on that day. So I appreciate y'all for taking that chance, man, and following through.
100%, man. I mean, like, y'all, like, listen up to this, because it's like, a lot of, like, what I see here at Watson is, like, like, a lot of waiting is, like, always being done. It's like we have to wait until we could, like, reach a certain level to, like, reach out to investors and, like, things like that. But at the end of the day, like, if you really want to make an impact, I mean, just do it, like you said.
Exactly. And I think I'm reminded of something Steve Jobs said. He's like, if you're going to start anything or do anything, do it while you're young, right? Do it while you don't have a family, kids, or nothing like that, because there's just less at stake. So now is the time you should be trying everything. Any idea you got, you should be jumping out and trying it, right? Now is the time. When I was first getting started in this work, like I look back, and I have been working with kids from my community since I was 17. Like Facebook has always reminded me times when I was 24, 25, I was speaking at school board meetings and advocating for kids in the community. Like there was this constant process. So then when I started my organization, the support was there because people saw this path. It wasn't just something that kind of popped up, because I was always trying stuff that I felt like was in my lane. So now is the time for that. And you'll be remembered for this years to come,
Like, for me, like, one of the things that we learned in our Watson class is from a kid's perspective, because kids don't necessarily have those limitations on them. They like, as soon as they have an idea, I want to do that. I want to be a superhero. I want to, like, there's so many different, like, things that come into their imagination. And it's crazy how, as we get older, we kind of lose that part of us. And we're like, it's very, very interesting to see.
That's so important you said that, because I do feel like one of the things that helped me is that I do have a very vivid imagination. And I've always had that, because you're so right. Like when we become adults, like we start, like everything's so serious. We lose the ability to play and to dream. And I probably depend on my imagination a lot less today than I did when I was a little younger. But like you have to have that. You have to approach life and business with that playfulness. Like I remember when I started my organization, like it was a scary thing because one, I didn't go to school for it. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know anything. It was just something I knew I needed to do. So I had to take the weight off by thinking of it as business. I said, you know what? I'm going to view it as art. You know, I'm going to create this masterpiece that's going to get to help a lot of young people from my community. And it put me back in that creative, exploratory mindset that you need to do it. So that's so important, man. Just staying connected to, and I think it's also what makes me effective working with the young men and women in our program is remembering what it's like to be young. Like a lot of us, you know, we get older and we start putting young people through the same vigors or rigors that like we're at this age, and we forget what we had to go through to become who we are now. And we take away the grace for younger people to have those experiences. And so I'm always trying to remind myself how many times I've had to bump my head to get where I am. Like, if there's anything that helped me get to where I am today, it's failure. Failing, falling down, but getting back up and taking the lessons from those failures forward. So that doesn't happen without having that playfulness and just getting out and not being afraid to scrape a knee, metaphorically.
And so kind of speaking towards failures and just challenges in general, like life tends to throw us a lot of curveballs. And my question to you is just how do you analyze and navigate through those problems?
Yeah. One thing I think is really important for bouncing back, like one of my favorite words is resilience, right? It's the ability to bounce back or come back to form after being bent. And I think the most important thing is how you cultivate your mindset, right? And a lot of that has to do with self-care, right? So I got a thing that I do whenever I feel like I'm going through a hard time, I'm falling off track, and that thing kind of changes, but it evolves around me like writing down a personal mission statement, right? My name is Ricky Aiken, and this is my mission. And what that does is it brings me back to a sense of self, a sense of focus. Like, all right, this is who I want to be, right? And then once I got that down, I try to look at how I can manifest that in my life. And things like meditating and remembering that I'm like my experience, like life is short, for short. And there have been billions of people who've gone before me and will probably come after me. So like regaining that perspective of what life is and what things are, it can make those trials or those things that seem so hard at the time smaller. But I think you have to do a lot to cultivate the right mindset so that you have these things when you fail or when life gets too hard. You kind of got the mindset to get you through it. And even relationships, I got people in my life who they can kind of tell when I'm unfocused or when I'm kind of veering off the path. And they'll say, hey, bro, I noticed X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I need to get back to it. So I'm going to go through my process. I got a process where I go write, journal, do my mission statement, and get back to who I feel I am or I want to be.
100%. 100%. So, we'd like to take this opportunity to go ahead and open up the floor for any of you all in the audience who may have some questions. For any of us here, we'd be open to answering any questions you have.
So something I was thinking about while you were talking about is areas, different lives. How does have this that way?
Good question. That's a great question. I think the most important way for me is just showing up, right? I think of the young men that I work with, and a lot of them, like their families have given up on them, and not intentionally, you know. Families have given up on them. Their schools have given up on them. My number one way to produce hope in them is just by showing up. Hey, what do you need? Hey, what are you doing today? And just letting them know that, and especially when they make mistakes, right? Because it's usually when we make mistakes or we mess up, adults are the angriest. It's like, oh, you're messing up again. I don't. I do the opposite. Like, even with my staff, we had an incident on, I received an award, and some people kind of missed it, and no call, no show at the last minute. And the normal human tendency is to, you got to pay. I'm going to make you pay. And it's like it's normal. But I thought, you know what? You know, maybe I didn't train them in this aspect. So I need to take responsibility for this thing that I'm angry at, and then I did a training with everyone on what to do and help create these new policies. And therefore, it was a situation where everyone, they understood the weight of it, but it was different. You know, it was kind of counter what they were expecting in that moment. So for me, to instill that hope in others is to do what people least expect in a moment, right? If they expect you to be angry because they did something that should anger you, choose impatience, you know? And I feel like it just burns. It runs countercultural to everything that they expect in those moments. So I hope that's not too vague, but that's what I'm always thinking of doing, do the opposite of what they expect in that situation.
Following up on that, I'm also intrigued by the what that means to you. The problem that you're tackling is very dire and realistically might not be fully eradicated like that. So in the face of that and finding a lot of setbacks, um, and maybe you can speak to whether there's more instances of gun violence, how do you maintain the situation?
Oh yeah, I've looked at Jerquez Williams, Kaji Davis, Mervyn Davis. Like, I look at these young men who were in death throes. Like, they were the ones you think, like, he's not going to make it to see next year. You know, and I see them all starting businesses. I see them as upstanding members of society. That gives me hope, you know, because you just took a trajectory that was probably headed down a path of destruction, and then you put it on a path to hope, life, and peace. So what keeps me motivated is the possibility of doing that with even more young people, and even showing the community the possibility. Because I think, you know, the number one cause of gun violence is concentrated disadvantage. Communities concentrated with fatherlessness, poverty, and things of that nature. And so when people have lost hope, they don't feel like hope, they're more prone to give up or give in to the misery around them. So once you start turning their attention to those hopeful stories, I think hope becomes contagious.
And I mean, if I could just add on a little bit as well, it's like I know, like for me, you know, I like lost a friend about 2 years ago. He was shot and killed, right? And like it's crazy because like my first reaction to that is always like, oh, who was it? I want to go, you know, do something to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like and then like fast forward 2 years later, this man walks into impasses court, and same situation happens with you, but your reaction is, how can I make this change? Let's do a peace walk. And just like seeing my mentality versus his mentality, it really made me realize like yo, like at that time, like what was I thinking?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just like putting the problem like deeper in. You know what I'm saying? So like, cause also something that gave me hope is like, yo, like you went through the same thing, but like look at what you thought of versus what I thought of.
Right.
So that's just one thing for me.
And I mean, just to add on to that, I mean, I've had friends who have been killed while I was in high school. I think, if I'm not mistaken, probably like 10 of my friends got killed during my duration of high school. And it's crazy because I've seen people go from being these scholars to then going, like, switching over to the other side of being, like, you know, in the gang life and the drug life. But then I've also seen those same people turn back around and become these amazing people and do all these incredible things, become businessmen. It's like, that to me is really, really impactful, because it's like, okay, if they can do that and take their life and completely turn it around, then wherever I'm at in my life, it's like I have the opportunity to do the same.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's always been able to, like, kind of drive me.
Yep. And then, like, another thing, like, the issue is so freaking confusing, right? You gotta imagine, you got kids growing up in communities and where all the music we listen to is like, is violence, right? It's rapping about a reality that's so real to them, right? And so you hear everyone like listening to and celebrating this music that is kind of glorifying something that's creating hell in your community. And it kind of it's a very confusing thing, because kids don't, in our community, right? If they hear someone rap about like the way they made it was through killing and drug dealing, like they have the means to go that route. Where in other communities it's just a form of entertainment. And you're just listening to it because it sounds good and it's
not
catchy.
real. That was
Right.
not real.
But to a kid growing up in desperate conditions, this is the way out for him. This is the way, you know. And I remember when I was younger, I was at that point where, all right, this is the way. I want to be a rap. I want to go this way, you know, because anything is better than what I see in my family now, you know. So there's so much that we have to contend with, but I think that as we continue to go and we build our base, we will be able to do so.
So, I know you've talked a lot about like family and all of that, but what kind of approach do you take for kids who don't have family?
Question. We try to be their family, right? A lot of times, like you'll hear like mentors or stuff say, look, I'm not trying to be your father figure or la da 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 da. Like we will try to be whatever you need us to be, because we realize you've had to go your life without it, right? So as far as our staff are concerned, like they need uncle, mother figure, father figure, big brother. We try to be that and support that, and we try to do whatever. If they need someone to come, like I got kids that I'm the only one at their graduation because their parents don't understand the significance of supporting them through times like that. You know, when they got their first job interview, you know, I go and get them the clothes they need and sit down to help prepare them. When they're getting in trouble with school and the parents don't want to go, it's often myself or one of my coworkers that are going up to the school and speaking on behalf of these kids. And the schools are always impressed, you know, because no one's usually, even when they're in court and they've gotten charges, and you think a parent would be there to know or see what's happening with their children, but it's not often the case. You know, that kid's in that system by themselves. And so any way that we can show up to let our young people know that they are loved, they are supported, and come what may, like we're with them, that's what we want to do, you know, because I feel like that's the reason people give up and they do things that could see them end up in prison for the rest of their lives. They don't feel like they have the support they need.
Follow up. So I know you said that like your staff are being those mentors too,
Mhm.
and so are you. So how do you counteract feeling of being overwhelmed with all of these like pressures of dealing with X amount of kids all at the same time?
Yeah. Man, you got some great questions. Take our team meeting, for instance, right? Or I guess the easier answer would just be grace, grace, and a lot of grace. Like I try to let my team know that they're supported. Like I try not to have these hard lines for everything, because I know that they're doing a job that very few people can do, and it's hard, and it's not something they could just leave at the desk when they go home. But going back to our team meetings, like our team meeting is probably 70% therapy, and then the rest is business, you know. So the same thing I told you during my master course that we do with our mentees, where we ask the same questions every week, share good news, challenging news, and your state of being. That question, like, it does miracles, like, in our group, because it gives our staff a time to really just say what's on their heart and what they're struggling with, and get the support they need within the group. So most of what we do is about helping process. You know, many of us didn't grow up with the tools needed to know how to process the trauma that we endured. So as a leader, as a executive director, I want to make sure that what we're doing as a team is conducive to healing, and to fit and laying off some of the burden. Another thing we do is getting them connected to therapists that they don't have to pay for. So, right, we get them therapy when they need it. If they want to set it up every week, every 2 weeks, we make that available for them. And we also, like, surprise them. Like, we'll have things like Staff Appreciation Month or week that's just surprise out of the blue. If I feel like work's been too heavy, all right, y'all, we're taking Wednesday off and we're going to Peanut Island. We're going to drink. We're going to just have a good time at the beach. Or we're going to, like, just having those times where I myself as a leader have to be, because it's almost like you're shepherding or herding them from one place to another. And if you're herding sheep and they're dehydrated and they're about to keel over, you're not doing a good job. So you got to make sure they got places where they can eat, where they can refuel, where they can rest, and all types of things like that. So I try to do my best to stay attuned to what we're feeling collectively and doing whatever I need to do to help refresh and keep refreshed.
I have maybe a more personal question. You know, you stated that in your childhood, your mom wasn't necessarily in a state to take care of you.
Yeah.
How did you go about forgiving her?
Great question. I think, like, when you think about life, right, and the people who have hurt us, and we all probably have people in our life who've hurt us, right? I think the number one thing you could do for yourself in certain situations is to forgive, right? And forgiveness is hard, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, because in our heart of hearts we want justice, right? She wasn't here, she wasn't, like, however you want to do it. But what I realized was that if I was gonna have a relationship with my mother, I can't have it both ways, to where I'm trying to crucify her for things she did wrong in my past and still take advantage of a relationship with my mom. So I had to forgive. You know, I had to let bygones be bygones, and I had to love her from where we are now, accepting her for who she is. And what helped me do that is a superpower. I think if everyone had it, the world would be better, and it's called empathy, right? Too often when we think of, like, the people who hurt us or who caused us pain, we're not rushing to think about what made them like that, right? My mom had gone through a lot. Like I told you, I was raised by my alcoholic grandma, and it traumatized the hell out of me. So I could imagine how it was for my mom growing up in that household. And I just think about just the obvious signs of trauma in my mom's psyche. And I say all that to say that everyone has something that happened that makes them the way they are. And I know for me, I'm working through a lot of trauma myself from childhood, and I know that like if someday if I'm married or if I'm gonna be a dad, like I'm gonna need grace as I work through the things that are still character defects in myself. So if I want people to have grace on me, like I want to have that grace in other areas. And there's no better person I could have had it with. Like my mom is like so blessed, like just to enjoy a relationship. And my brothers do more or less better or worse jobs at accepting her. But she's blessed, man, and I do what I do to make her proud. I want that relationship, and the same is true with my dad. Like I know him, it's not as tight as it is, but I just want him to know I forgive him. Like I'm not holding any grudges based on what he did or didn't do, because this is where we are. Like you can spend your life like looking back and being angry. Oh, this didn't go right. This didn't go right. Well, guess what? You're not gonna reach your full potential or become who you need to be because you're stuck in the past. So at some point, you gotta let it go because that's space that you can have freed up to become who you really want to be and need to be.
Good question. I think Pablo, you have a question?
I do. Do you want to go first? I was just curious if you had like a long-term vision for how you'd like to see like 10 years from now. Is it a national organization? Are you scaling it? Are you focusing on like the model replicable, unfortunately, in this case, across the U.S., right? Because it's serving a national problem. So, yeah, I would just love to have a vision.
Absolutely. We want to be in starting with Florida, we want to be in every community where violence is a big issue there. And what I see is, like, I see these communities of young men who are kind of born into these communities, and violence has kind of been the norm. Like, I want to give them the game plan. Like, look, here's what you can begin to do about it. And they create their own hope dealer click dynamics and begin to speak to those things because it is transferable. It is something that can be taken to other places. And it so centers around the young people who are living in these situations. My motto is real change happens when the people lead it, like giving them a playbook that they can use and that works. And to that end, I had someone reach out to me a week and a half ago from Philadelphia. He's a barber, and he said he saw one of my videos on YouTube, and he wants to fly himself down to just spend a week with me and my team and learn the process so he can go and mimic it in Philly. And I'm like, of course, let's do it, And that's kind of what I want it to be. I wanna create a process that anybody living or growing up in a community of concentrated violence can take it and begin to work it. And then once you got all these smaller, you create a national coalition that can speak against some of the other issues like the culture and things of that nature.
All right, we got time for one more question. So, go ahead, my bad.
Thought about or come up tools that could help facilitate that scale throughout the nation.
Yeah. Right now, I'm working on something called the Hope Dealer Playbook. You know, and it's basically like what it means to be a hope dealer and how to plant it in your community, right? And like everything in it will mostly be free, like things anybody can do. And that's what I'm working on now. And I think that will open the door for a lot more. Because I got so many people. I got a guy down in Miami that wants to do it there. I'm gonna go take him some Hope Dealer shirts and get him started that way. But I think having that Hope Dealer manifesto or playbook would be step one, because then people can kind of get the gist of it. And if they want more technical support, I can offer it. I just want to travel the country, listening to people in this way. Yes.
Love it.
I hate typing, so if anybody wants to like type it, and
Yeah, so I do have one last question, and I know most of our sessions, we tend to like gear it around books, and I just want to ask you, what are 3 books, like in, whether that be in mental health sector or in the self-care sector, like what 3 books can you recommend to for us to look into?
All right, good question, bro. And I'm always like smothering him with books. I'm like, you gotta read, bro. Readers are leaders, like you. But all right. So I spoke about trauma, right? And a book is like the Bible on trauma to me. Is a book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Yo.
Yeah, talk about it. Talk about, like, once you read that, like, a lot of things that you've been seeing in your families, in your communities, a lot of the pain, like, it starts to make sense, because, like, trauma, I think it uses in this book, it's like, imagine being struck by lightning when you were 8. Like, your entire world will revolve around that event. Every time it thunders or lightnings or something reminds you of that day, you'll be taken back there. And so that book really helped me make sense of a lot of things and help fortify like my forgiveness and just trying to understand myself more. Another book is called The War of Art, not to be confused with The Art of War, but The War of Art is a book that really it helped me a lot. Like, I ran for commissioner like 5 or 6 years ago. I started my company around 5 or 6 years ago, and it was all like from this book. Like, it just kind of like it took the scariness out of it. Like, it gave me the paradigm to see what I was doing as art. And that book was huge for me. It's very easy to read, and what it talks about is we all live 2 lives. And between the 2, like, basically there's an unlived life within us. You know, we settle, we drown it out, but this book helps you to live the life you want instead of snuffing it down. And then third, I would say, this is new, I would say anything by Ryan Holiday. Stillness is the key. The obstacle is the way. I'm big into stoicism, just because of its framework. If you're starting a business, like it really primes you to like hard times. Like, everything's a character building opportunity through those lenses. So anything Ryan Holiday wrote on the topic of stoicism is good.
Well, we'd like to thank everybody for your questions. This has been such an amazing conversation. I hope you guys were able to get a lot out of it. Also on our friends on Zoom as well. Yeah, I mean, like, this has just been like so amazing for me. You know, once again getting to chat with you, ask you some questions, and just see your perspective. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
I could, if there's anything, if y'all want to go through any of those books as a group, I don't mind coming every now and then and talking. Like, I love this group.
Wow.
Book club.
An inner city book club.
Anything that I could do to help, or y'all got any ideas, we could, anything. So just let me know, and we can build it. All right?
I mean, this is, you guys just got a glimpse of basically how our mentorship sessions go, and it's just been an incredible conversation that we've had. And I would just want to thank you once again for coming out. I want to thank all of you for coming out to support.
Thank you, guys.
It's really amazing.
So, just to always, show a token of our appreciation, protecting our cards, all that fun Watson stuff. We got you once again, another gift, man.
Yeah.
Another one.
This is why I do it.
Oh, this,
Oh, I got two gifts. Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
You got the cape with us.
Alright.
I don't know if you wanna wear the
Good
cape
shirt.
like out and about. With the t-shirt.
Oh, I love this. Y'all got any larges by any chance?
Is that an extra large?
Yeah. I like my shirts like.
We might have a.
Yeah.
I'll check. Eric and Chris, would you like to take a?
yeah.
Okay.
Take one of just them, and then we'll do the group?
Yeah, for sure,
Oh,
that's
okay. Oh, flip it, okay. You just wanna do it today? Right? It's up to you to get on the Yay! Awesome, okay, and then we'll do should we do the group outside or here?
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, that was downstairs. Protocol, I'm in mastercourse mode.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, I like how you That's too cool for me. I swear. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Lily, this is all. I mean, this is cool. Is it like a voice thing? Yeah, so you can like call in. Oh. Bye, girl. Bye, bye, bye. I have this feeling that people that were on Zoom thought it was a master course. Because, like, Alexandra Escobar, I don't think would.
Yeah, Alexander came and
Fatima, and then Isaac. I saw that. Did you read my memo?
oh, I don't know. Gosh, I hope that the tech worked.
That's so funny. Sorry?
I said I hope that the tech worked and everything like
Oh,
that.
the recording.
Yeah, this thing like didn't
I
even
know.
work.
What is that?
It's like a speaker,
So
but
you can, like, call.
Oh.